Ann Nixon Cooper, Sam Cain, and Mary Kay Jones are a few African Americans that lived through the struggle for civil rights and still live in America today. As Ann Nixon Cooper watched Obama's inauguration speech, she let out a contented sigh. They have seen the changes in America. A lot of Martin Luther King's dreams have come true. Today I will try to help you realize how much of Martin Luther King's dream has been fulfilled and just how far America has come since 1963. I will analyze the four aspects of the rhetorical situation, including audience, occasion, speaker, and speech. I will show you how Martin Luther King inspired a nation with his historic speech. The audience for Martin Luther King's speech included 250,000 civil rights activists. It was also carried live on major television networks. Because the speech was on television and radio, his audience included many men and women of all different races. Viewers included supporters and non-supporters of segregation and people of different socioeconomic status. Americans on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial were supporters of Martin Luther King. They were there to bring attention to the nation's inequalities. They were protesters for civil rights. The audience had marched from the Washington Monument to the Lincoln Memorial. The marchers were heard, and a year later, the Civil Rights Act was passed. This act made segregation illegal, required equal employment opportunities, and gave minorities the right to vote. Obama won presidency with 97% of that black vote. Martin Luther King opens his speech by saying, "I'm happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation." The occasion was a nonviolent demonstration for freedom. Martin Luther King's speech was deliberative. Its purpose was to change policies regarding equal rights for people of color. Martin Luther King said, "I have a dream, that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." His speech was also ceremonial in a sense. He wanted to unite the American people. The marchers were celebrating their shared belief for civil rights. Today, millions of Americans just gathered together to listen to our first black president's inauguration speech. Equal opportunities have been achieved. The highest office of our nation is filled by black men. According to Representative John Lewis, who also spoke that day, Dr. King had the power, the ability, and the capacity to transform those steps on the Lincoln Memorial into a modern-day pulpit. In 1965, Martin Luther King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Martin Luther King was respected by his audience. He was a Baptist preacher. His audience viewed him as an intelligent, honest man. Some Americans were hostile to those who supported segregation. The speech was rated the top speech of the 20th century. Martin Luther King still comes off in a positive light for viewers today. This speech still inspires many young people. If we look across college campuses today, we see a diverse group of students. It's hard to imagine, not long ago, in 1962, James Meredith was the first black student to go to the University of Mississippi. There was a riot and over 5,000 federal troops had to escort him in. Just this past year, the University of Mississippi was the site for the first presidential debate between a black and white man. Representative John Lewis continued to say, by speaking the way he did, he educated, he inspired, he informed not just the people there, but people throughout America and unborn generations. Martin Luther King uses a black preaching style in his speeches. He uses a call and response interaction with his listeners. He also uses anaphora, with the repetition of, "I have a dream," and "Let freedom ring." Martin Luther King evoked emotions of sadness and anger in his audience, but most of all he gives his audience a sense of hope for equality in America. Martin Luther King preached, and when this happens, we will sing, free at last, thank God Almighty." Martin Luther King's speech inspired many Americans' feelings about equal rights. Not only did he help to change public policy, but he gave many African Americans hope for a better future. He said, "I have a dream," and his dream has been fulfilled. According to CNN Politics, 69% of blacks polled say Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision has been realized. If you don't think things have changed, just ask 107-year-old Ann Nixon Cooper or Sam Cain or Mary Kay Jones. These people know what it felt like to drink from separate drinking fountains or to be barred from restaurants. As they watched the inauguration of President Obama, they knew that Martin Luther King's dreams come true.